After much deliberation and negotiating, the Carolina Hurricanes have finally inked a long-term lease extension with Centennial Authority to remain at PNC Arena. And we will talk about that, future plans for, and our hopes for the renovations and development of the surrounding area in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday morning. And we have some fun stuff to talk about. Andrew is back, and man, we have been looking forward to talking about this. We've obviously talked off of recording about this, but the Hurricanes finally inking their 20-year lease extension with Centennial Authority, who own PNC Arena. They're there for the next 20 years. We will be in our mid-40s then, Andrew.
Yeah, I was looking. I turned late 40s actually. I turned 27 tomorrow, so I'll be 48 by the time that lease is up.
Oh boy, I'll be turning 27 in September. So yeah, we're gonna be old men. I'm gonna have a gray beard, probably be bald by then too. I mean, we're gonna look a lot different than we do today.
And so is PNC Arena.
Yes, it will. We're going to get into that as well because we're very excited about the renovations. I know I've talked about it on the show a lot. I believe you've talked about it here as well, just what we're hoping for these renovations. But it was announced last week that I'm reading directly from the Hurricanes article about this quote. The Centennial Authority, owners of PNC Arena and Gale Force Sports and Entertainment LLC, announced today, as of that day, the signing of a 20-year lease extension with the Carolina Hurricanes. The newly signed lease states that the Hurricanes will occupy PNC Arena through the 2043-44 NHL season. As part of the agreement, PNC Arena will undergo major renovations, including development of a transformational, vibrant sports and entertainment district and public gathering space around the arena. The development will create a live, work, and play destination for the Triangle residents and visitors throughout the year. End quote there. Yeah, this is something we've been looking forward to for a while. We're never really in doubt that they're going to leave. If this was 5 years ago when the team still wasn't good, then yeah, I could see that potentially being the case of them finding a new home, especially with Dundon taking over them. But this team is good now, and they're on the come up. They're constantly selling out, and they're a draw here in Raleigh. So we knew this was going to happen. It was just going to be a matter of when.
Yeah, and I think this puts to rest it was always silly. It's been silly for a long time. Any thoughts of, Tom Dundon just bought this team to bide his time and move them to Houston. No, he is committed to obviously committed to spending on the Hurricanes. You look at them, they're committed to spending to the cap every year and committed to, investing in the city, the market. The Hurricanes are here to stay. They're going to make this whole thing, creating this arena district, this is going to change West Raleigh forever.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most significant developments, I think, in the history of the city, because I said, like you said, it goes beyond the Hurricanes. Adding, the shops, the restaurants, the housing, the hotels, everything else in the area. It's going to create so many new jobs for people. It's going to bring people in. It's going to be great. But yeah, no, you look at Tom Dundon, he's spending, I think, a significant amount of his own money on this whole project. So, clearly committed to investing in the team, investing in the arena, creating a better experience in the arena for fans. I talked about on the show before, just how kind of old the inside of the arena looks. I mean, I was thinking about the other day when they made the announcement. We've been here, we've lived here, going to games as far as I can remember back to when I was a little kid. And if you asked me to tell you how the arena has really changed in that span, I don't think I could give you much.
Yeah, aside
Substantial
from
or tangible.
yeah, aside from little tiny things like, oh, this is a new restaurant. They've added this little satellite shop, or they changed a few little fixtures here and there. As a whole, it hasn't changed much since it was built in late '90s, early 2000s when it was built then. So it looks like it. Again, it's not run down by any means, but it looks dated, and I'm excited that this is finally getting done. I know that had been the big thing, really, of them wanting those upgrades and renovations. That was the big thing the Hurricanes were wanting. We talked about it shortly before we started recording. Again, not entirely sure where money for all of it is going to be coming from. Obviously, the arena, like you said, a lot of that's going to come from Tom Dundon himself, as well as city, county, all that stuff. But in total, all of this stuff, it's going to total up to. I saw this. I forget what account it was where I saw it from, but credit goes to them. Is total of $1.1 billion in renovation and development of that area. 300 million of it going to the arena and getting that updated and more modern, and then 800 million to the development of the surrounding area, which is something I'm really excited for. I've talked about that here before, of hopes for renovations, and we'll dive more into that later. But just building up that area of West Raleigh, like you said, everything that's going to do, it's going to make for really, really fun environment. Another thing with it, and we'll talk about it more in a bit, is that the NHL, once everything is said and done on the arena renovations, of committing to bringing an all-star game back to Raleigh, as well as another stadium series, which is going to be really, really fun. And then by that time, because that's years down the road, more of that development of West Raleigh will be done, and that will be so freaking fun.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. Like I said, it's going to create PNC Arena into more of a destination. It's going to lead. We can get into this later, but it's going to lead to more marquee NHL events for the Hurricanes. There are provisions in this lease from the NHL for things like, for certain things that the commissioner himself was here in around the stadium series and all that, and he himself said that this building needs to be brought more up to NHL standards. It simply is not right now.
Yeah,
but yeah,
as well as more entrances and exits.
Well, and it's going to help in that regard too. They've talked about building parking decks, to make it a little bit more easy to get in and out of, streamline parking a little bit more. I think that'll be good. As I said, it helps the Hurricanes. It makes them more of a destination, I think, for players to want to come here. It helps NC State.
Yeah,
you look at Carter Finley in the basketball arena right there. Dom Waddell was talking about this on, he was on the Ovius and Giglio podcast, I think the day this was announced. If you guys haven't heard that, recommend checking it out. There's some really good stuff in there. But it helps NC State football and men's basketball from a recruiting standpoint, because the basketball players are playing in PNC Arena. The football stadium is right there. This is a win-win-win for the Hurricanes, for NC State, and for the city of Raleigh, which is very rare when you're talking about something of this scope and magnitude. But they're really, you talk about maybe, some tailgating space gets lost. That's the big concern NC State fans have. But even then, they're still gonna have plenty. They're gonna set aside a certain piece, I think, of land of a certain size for, I think, maybe even like 5 acres for tailgating. And also, look, NC State football, 6 or 7 Saturdays a year. You can't just leave all that empty land just for that. I mean, and like I said, they're not going to lose tailgating. I mean, Dom Waddell talked about too. Tailgating is a huge part of the Hurricanes culture and experience these
It's not
days.
going to go
They
anywhere.
want to leave tailgating space too, especially for those, playoff games and all that. So no, I mean, there really are not drawbacks to this. Everybody wins here. The Hurricanes win, NC State wins, the city
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah. I'm not worried about the tailgating space either, but yeah, I like that you brought up, NC State, and we'll dive into a little bit of how that can help them out as well here in a little bit. But we do want to dive into future plans for the arena, things that we could potentially see, and we'll dive into that right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it is important to build a strong foundation for your health, and our next partner can do that, and that is, of course, AG1. Folks that have been around a while, you guys know all about AG1. We've talked about them a lot, but if you're new here, AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers comprehensive nutrients to support whole body health. AG1 replaces your multivitamin, probiotic, and more in one simple drinkable habit. I personally like to add a little dab of lemon juice into mine. Science driven formula of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients. AG1 is raising the standard for quality in the supplement category. AG1 helps you build your health foundation first. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1 year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/NHL network. That's drinkag1.com/NHL network. Go check it out, folks, and build that strong foundation. Now, future plans for the arena. This stuff had been talked about before, obviously here on the show, but I know there's that mock up of what it could potentially look like and other plans, that have been talked about before. And, you guys can go read that stuff in detail. But, as you mentioned a second ago, the parking decks, I think that's definitely going to help. I definitely see that happening for sure. I would really, really like for them to go through with that second story rooftop terrace thing. That would still be cool as well. But future plans for the arena. We mentioned the All-Star game and the stadium series coming back once everything is all said and done. That's going to be really cool plans for the Hurricanes. And then you figure when that stuff is done, and if it goes well, then who knows? Maybe draft comes back as well.
Yeah, I think another tidbit from that Don Waddell interview with Ovius and Giglio, he said that I think the plan is like in about 5 years to do another All-Star or outdoor game, because it takes a lot of time and planning into it. But yeah, that, as said, the All-Star game, All-Star weekend when they had it here back in 2011 was very fun. Was a very cool event for this city. I would love to see a draft here. I went to the draft in Chicago in 2017 when the Hurricanes picked Martin Necas. The draft is just such a cool event because it's just such a big gathering of so many different people and writers and fans and everyone else from around the league. So no, that would be a fun thing to have in Raleigh for sure. And even beyond hockey, I mean, a friend of mine was mentioning this the other day, say for basketball purposes, the arena gets renovated, and there's all the new hotels and everything in the surrounding area. Maybe say the NCAA women's Final Four comes to Raleigh. That would be really, really cool, especially with the growth of women's basketball that we've seen in the Triangle. I think there's a lot of possibilities for different things like that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that when it comes to state NCAA tournament stuff, men's and women's. Women's definitely Final Four would be more of would be more likely than men's Final Four. They kind of like to do really, really big places for that. But I could totally see like a first or second round of men's tournament as well.
They've done that before too, so I
Yeah.
could it would definitely put it more firmly in the
Mhm.
rotation.
Yeah,
I've
because
seen some. I think in 2014,
yeah,
I
it
went to
when
some
Duke
games.
lost to Mercer, right?
Duke lost to Mercer at PNC, which I
Mhm.
mean, if there's one thing that the Duke men's basketball team is good at, it's losing games at PNC Arena. But I digress.
Yeah, and I could also see whenever, because I know they're done in Brooklyn for ACC tournament stuff, but obviously we all like Greensboro Coliseum, but once everything is all said and done, the conference could be like, oh hey, we got this shiny new state of the art arena.
Maybe the women's ACC turn. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's hard
yeah.
to see
Again,
them
I don't know
letting
on that. We'll just have to wait and
NC
see.
State basically play home games for the ACC tournament, but maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We'll just have to wait and see on that stuff. But then you look outside of sports, the Hurricanes and the Wolfpack, having that new arena that can help attract other events and concerts and shows, all that stuff to PNC Arena. Again,
Is it
they get stuff now, of course, but you have this new bright shiny one made me like, oh hey, this would be a good, because I know they've hosted like a Apex Legends tournament there. Maybe something like that happens. Heck, Epic Games is based in Cary. Maybe like a Fortnite tournament or something there,
yeah.
or a Gears of War one. Since they do both of those, you could have stuff like that there as well. And of
Isn't
course,
there gonna be some kind
concerts
of a
and stuff like
music
that.
venue as part of the, like, surrounding stuff
hmm
too? Like
Yep,
a small one?
that'll be part of it as well in terms of the development for around everything. A music venue is supposed to go there, some sort of amphitheater or whatever. So you're gonna have that there as well. And you look at an event for the Hurricanes or NC State, you have something like that. That's gonna be real nice for them too, just to really amp up the events that are being held. We'll just use you know uh all-star game, because that's probably the one that would happen first. But you know you have something like that, and you're gonna have, I'm assuming at that point in time, everything, the development won't be done, but you're gonna have more stuff around, and that would be really, really cool. Just adding to that environment, because of course it was fun as is earlier in the year, but then you add stuff like that, and man, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, and like you just mentioned the development not getting done. I mean, I think it's important to remember, especially for a lot of like the surrounding development we're
Mhm.
talking about. I mean, it's probably 3 to 5 years before this is all done. It's going to take a while to get everything done. But like we said, that's part of why the lease agreement is so long. And it's going to be a long wait, but I think the payoff is going to be worth it in the end of what it's going to mean for the city.
Yeah, I really think it's gonna be well worth the wait, because obviously it's been a minute since I've really even looked into the stuff. But I remember a couple years ago of when they like do the anonymous surveys for players. I remember a lot of folks didn't like PNC Arena because there's nothing around it, and you know like we said earlier, with attracting free agents and whatnot. Obviously, the team being good helps a lot, but you have a nice area, a nice arena. That's gonna help even more. And then move away from the Hurricanes. You go to NC State. You know, you look at, you gotta have this nice arena you're gonna be playing in. You have all this stuff around it. That's gonna be really, really fun, and it's gonna help. eh, Like you said earlier, it's a win-win-win for all parties involved: the city, the Hurricanes, and NC State.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think it's a big thing for, recruiting and NIL is such a big part of recruiting for college sports now.
Mhm.
if you've got restaurants and other businesses in that area, right there around the football stadium and the arena, I would have to think that would open up a whole new world of potential NIL deals for NC State student athletes, not just, football, men's basketball players, but NIL has been huge for, student athletes, look at women's basketball, how successful that NC State's been, other programs as well that could potentially, make deals with new businesses in the area.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just going to help. It's going to help everyone involved, and obviously, we'll see how things shake out in terms of what the stuff looks like. But I would imagine it ends up looking like your typical mixed use kind of area. For those that are familiar with Raleigh, North Hills, you got your shops and whatnot on the bottom, and then apartments and office space up top, and then room to walk around and all that stuff. That's kind of what I'm expecting it to look like. We'll see how things shake out, but I think that's I'm pretty confident in saying that would look like the area around it. Arena, we've all seen the mock-up stuff of it. We'll see how it shakes out, what it ends up looking like, but it won't look like it looked from the late 90s, early 2000s. That it will not look like anymore. But we, of course, have our hopes for the renovations and development. We've talked about that stuff before, but we're going to talk about it here again right after this quick break, folks. All right, folks, we are back, and we're going to talk about our hopes and renovation for the renovations and the development of PNC Arena and the surrounding area. Because this is what everyone wants to talk about, what we all want in the arena. Again, we've talked about this stuff before. In terms of in the arena, it's going to be interesting to see how they do that, because you have a limited amount of space. And we've talked about expanding the eye. That would be really fun. How they would do that, don't know. Again, basic things, updated fixtures, floors, that kind of thing. I mentioned earlier these like second floor rooftop bar terrace thing that's been in a lot of mock-ups above like the main entrance there in the South Plaza. I really hope they still go through that. That's so cool. I really hope they do it. And we'll see how things end up shaking out in terms of what ends up going in there, because you do figure they're going through all these renovations. There's probably going to be some new restaurants go in. It wouldn't surprise me if they do some different stuff with the satellite eye locations throughout the arena. But this is going to be really fun stuff. I've mentioned it before, but when I went to Detroit for that game up there with my dad, just how they have that arena set up. Obviously, I know they won't go that route with it. That wouldn't fit for PNC Arena with kind of the warehouse-ish vibe that it has there at Little Caesars Arena. I know that wouldn't happen for PNC Arena, but just the more updated, modern look. If they could, I don't know how they would do it, but maybe open up the concourse a little bit so it's a little less cramped sometimes, because you go to those really big games, whether it be NC State, the Hurricanes, a concert, whatever, those concourses can get really stinking tight.
Yeah, no, it'd be not. Yeah, especially like I said, after like you're walking out of there after a home game where it's sold out. I mean, it's packed. Yeah, widening those up a little bit would be nice.
Yeah, and obviously one thing that we know is going to happen, Gary Bettman even mentioned, is adding more access to and from the arena so traffic doesn't get backed up as much, which is going to be really nice for everything. Our Hurricanes game, an NC State game, especially a football game, having or concerts or whatever, especially whenever they have like the really big artists go to Carter Finley Stadium. Oh man, get more access there. That's going to help out a lot. I think everyone's looking forward to that. But Andrew, what are some of your hopes and in the renovations for PNC Arena?
Definitely hoping for that cookout milkshake kiosk in the arena. I think that would be a quality addition. But no, it's like you're talking about, some more restaurants. It'd be cool to see some, more local stuff in the arena, and especially in the surrounding area. It's just going to be nice too to have more options in terms of like if you want to go to dinner before the game or if you want to go grab a drink and an appetizer after the game. Right now your options are pretty much Backyard Bistro, which don't get me wrong, I love Backyard Bistro. It's a really cool place, great food, but it gets kind of crowded on game days. Or going further up Edwards Mill to, the restaurants up there, which again, nothing against those. They're great. You got Rodino's up there, you got Edwards Mill Bar and Grill, but it'd be fun if it's like, you've got the parking decks around the arena. So you get to the game, you park in the deck, you go in either, before, say it's like 5:30, the puck drops at 7. You want to go grab a bite to eat at a restaurant around there, or it's after the game and your car's just in the deck and you want to just walk over to one of these restaurants or bars or have a drink, an appetizer, or go to a sports book and place a bet on, say, like a late college basketball game or an NBA game, because they're going to have, that's the other thing we haven't talked about. They're going to have a sports book at the arena. They're going to have an off-site sports book as part of all this. But I think it's just cool, that it's going to be more of an experience, or you could have more of a night out experience if you want all right there. If you go to a Hurricanes game or an NC State game, versus, again, your options now are pretty much either going to Backyard Bistro or driving, up Edwards Mill if you want to go get something to eat before or after the game outside the arena. So I think that's my big hope, is just that it turns into something that can be more of a full experience around going to the game versus just going to the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally get that. You also forgot Wendy's and Bojangles. You have those options.
That's true.
But yeah, definitely the development of the surrounding area is going to be very fun. Like you said, it's going to be more of a thing, more of an event of, going out. It's not just going to the game and then like, oh, let's load up and then go down to Glenwood or go over to North Hills or whatever. No, like you can just, like you said, park in a deck, get something to eat before, or, get something to eat after. There's going to be more stuff to do. Obviously, when it comes to that stuff, you're gonna have, your restaurants and whatnot. Obviously, you can inspect a lot of, NC State and Hurricanes themed stuff through there. That's gonna be a given when it comes to that stuff, and that's gonna be a really, really fun environment. Of course, it wouldn't surprise me. I think we've talked about this before. Is maybe a potential off location store for the eye. I could see that happening. I know they used to have one somewhere. I think it was in Crabtree Valley Mall.
Yeah, it was in the food court where they over where the GameStop is now at the mall.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they do something like that again. I mean, we'll see. Same with like a NC State. So I know there's like the red and white shop, but maybe another thing like that I could see.
Yeah.
Or, just a store that does both, could totally see that. Also, one thing I thought about earlier this afternoon before we started recording was I could potentially see R&D Brewing opening up another tap room over in that area. Maybe not as big as the one they have already, but maybe a little smaller one or something like that. I could totally see that happening. I think that I wouldn't necessarily lock it in, because obviously we don't know any of the plans for development, but I could totally see them doing something, because I believe they sponsor a lot of the stuff that North Hills does. So they already make the Hurricanes beer. You're going to be having all of this development over in the area. So I could totally see them doing something.
Yeah. And I think, I think it is all as part of this, being Carolina, being local, these surrounding restaurants, the arena. I definitely would love to see some kind of barbecue place as part of all this.
Oh, that'll totally happen.
But yeah, no, it's going to be a really exciting thing to watch, to see how it all unfolds for sure.
Mm-hmm. It is going to be really, really fun. And we talk a lot about the development around. It's going to be fun to see what events get put on there. We go back to North Hills a lot, with this thing, because that's the big one that everyone knows. They have like their little summer concert series. We've already mentioned they're going to be having a music venue there in this new development area. So what events they put on, that's going to be really fun, because again, we've talked about, state games and Hurricanes games and, all that stuff. Of course, there's going to be, life and whatnot going on there. But just the events that can be held there now or whenever it happens, that's going to be fun too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that.
I know it's going to be a very unique district as well, because they are playing up this is a sports and entertainment district. So to see what they decide to put in there, that's going to be fun. I think you can see a lot of, well, lack of a better term, sports and entertainment type stuff through there. And I could potentially see they want to go with this kind of route, maybe like a axe throwing place. That would be cool.
That would be fun. Yeah,
I've done that before. That'd be fun. I could totally see them doing
a
something
bowling
like
alley,
that.
like for if you want to go do something after the game, that'd be cool.
Yeah, or like a
place like
car arcade.
I was literally about to say that,
Yeah.
like a box tarp type place, like an
Yeah.
adults and kids arcade would be perfect.
Yeah, I could totally see stuff like this going in there again. They're really make it a place that people want to go, rather than going to the Hurricanes game at you get there at 4, for a 7 o'clock game. You're getting there at noon or whatever, to spend the day going around to these other places, and then you go over to PNC Arena for the game, and then you go back out later. It's gonna be so freaking fun. I cannot wait. Obviously, I know when all this stuff is done, you and I will get in some trouble down there, but well, shoot, by the time everything is all said and done, we may be hitting our 30s by then. So our joints are already bad enough now in our late 20s.
Yeah.
But yeah, this stuff is going to be fun for everyone involved, for the Hurricanes, for NC State, and for the city. It's going to be so fun. Probably before we wrap up, I just thought about this: the State Fair. Fairgrounds are right there too.
It'll definitely add to that experience, and hopefully make parking and traffic for that a whole lot better.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but that's yet another thing that takes place right in that area. That's going to add to that. You could maybe see like the little nightlife area, folks. Doing more with that. Oh, the fair shut down. Come over to Steven's Bar and Grill or whatever. I don't know. And show your fare ticket, you get $10 off or whatever, but yeah, it's gonna, like we said, it's a win-win-win for everyone involved, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yes, so let us know what you guys are hoping for with the renovations to PNC Arena, what you want to see in there, and what you want to see in the development of the surrounding area. Let us know, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at LO_Hurricanes, myself at Jared Ellis _96, Andrew at ASchnitt53. Leave a comment down on YouTube as well for what you're wanting to see there. If you're not subscribed, subscribe already. And we will talk to you guys in the next episode. And as always, folks, let's go Canes.